Hi, Joe Muldowney here, and welcome to Running Shorts, the YouTube channel where I use my many years of running experience, racing experience, and coaching experience to help you become a better runner by offering you tips and advice about running and racing. And today we have a good one. Today our video is entitled, "The Time is Now." So stay tuned, it's gonna be a good one. First, let me take care of some business. If you like this video, please hit that like button below. It's extremely helpful. Share this video with others to offer them some running advice and tips as well. And finally, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and then you will get these videos on a regular basis. All right, first, before we start today, how do you like the new digs here? Well, the new digs are actually old digs. They're my garage, and it's where I have a lot of my memorabilia up on the wall. And this is definitely not an original idea. When I moved down here to South Carolina from Pennsylvania, I decided to revive a long dormant fishing career, since I have a lake right here, I got the river right across the road, and I got the ocean 15 minutes away. So when I did do that, when I did revive my fishing career, I started watching all kinds of fishing videos, and when my bass fishermen are not on the boat somewhere, they're actually in their garage with their boats, with all their bass trophies and things like that behind them. So I figured I'd emulate that in my running videos right here. Okay, so the time is now. The time is now because the time is now. Yes. We've talked about, we're in the dead heat of the summer, and man, I'll tell you what, wherever you are in this country, it seems as though people are having hot spells. I'm telling my friends in Pennsylvania they need to come down here to South Carolina to cool off. Out west, it's terrible. Yeah, it's hot everywhere. We know that. Heat is the enemy of the runner. We've talked about that. But we have also gone over ways of dealing with the heat. It can be done. You've got some great runners around the world that are from some pretty hot places around the world. So you can do it. You just have to do it in a smart manner, and look at some of my previous videos to get some of those tips if you haven't done so already. So coming up in the fall, late September, October, and November, marathon season, half marathon season. There are hundreds of half marathons and marathons and marathons themselves around this country in the fall. Now, let me preface that by saying, throughout my career, I've always preferred spring marathons, because even though the winter is the winter, it's still kind of better for training. You don't have to deal with the outside heat as much. So preference-wise, I'd rather run marathons in the spring, but there's so many good ones in the fall. So many good, local half marathons and marathons. You've got the Philadelphia Distance Run. I'm talking about my previous experience in Pennsylvania. The Harrisburg Marathon, a small marathon, but flat along the Susquehanna River, fast course, not many runners, not many spectators, but a great race. Many local marathons, and of course, the big ones, New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, just all over the place, a marathon that you can choose from in the fall. But if you have a goal, and if you want to be successful, the time is now. That's right, July 11th, I'm making this video. You need to begin to prepare right now if you have a goal. If your goal is to complete the marathon, well, I still think you should begin to prepare right now. But if you have a specific time goal that you would like to achieve for that half marathon or marathon, begin it. Begin your training right now. So I'm going to break it up into two. Let's break it up into two parts here. Start with the half marathon. If you're running a half marathon, I'm going to throw out some goal times here because they're kind of they're very popular goal times. Let's put it that way. So you want to run your half marathon late September, early October. Your goal is to run a 2-hour half marathon. Again, the time is now. And the components, as I think I've also mentioned on a previous video, the components for a successful half marathon and marathon are basically two. And that is a weekly speed workout of some kind and a weekly quality long run. Now that number two, quality long run. Example, half marathon goal of 2 hours is a 9:05 per mile pace. 9:05 mile for 13 miles. In your long runs, your goal is to achieve over distance. That means that at some time, you should try to turn in maybe 1 or 2 or 3, even 15 milers over distance, more than 13.1. But you want to run them in a quality manner. So, you want to run them within about 30 seconds of your half marathon goal time, which means you want to run about a 9:35 or so goal pace towards the end of your training in order to be able to achieve that time. If you're able to run an 11-minute pace or a 10:30 pace, then you need to adjust your goal to make it a little bit slower, because frankly, it's probably not going to happen. So that's your long run each week, your long quality run. And then somewhere along the way, I would usually do this during the middle of the week, your speed workout of some type. And I think we have talked about it already, but we will talk about it in a future video. You got to throw some speed work in there. That's for the half marathon. Now for the marathon. The same, but different. Speed work, yes, definitely. Middle of the week. Long run, well, again, usually depending on your work schedule, school schedule, whatever it might be. But I tended to always run my long runs on the weekend because you have more time. For a marathon, you do not want to go over distance. You don't want to go over 26 miles. Throughout my career, the longest run I ever did for a marathon was 24 miles. I'm not a doctor, but I just think the human body just has so many of these in you, so many 26 milers in you, so you don't have to go over distance. But you need to get up to a 20 miler, maybe even a 22 miler, and I would say a minimum of 2, maybe 3. And the concept is the same. Now we're going to say a 4-hour marathon. Again, about a 9:05 pace. Somewhere throughout your training plan, if you can hit a 20 miler, or even if you can bump it up to a 22 miler at a 9:30 to 9:30, say 9:35 per mile pace, about 30 seconds, approximately in there, you're going to do it. You're going to be able to run the 4-hour marathon. More so in the marathon than the half marathon. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't fool the marathon. You absolutely cannot. You cannot go and say, hey, I ran a 16 miler or a 15 miler. It ain't gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. The proverbial wall at 20, 18 or 20 miles, you're gonna hit it if you're not prepared. One other thing. I think, and this is adjustable, but I think you should probably run about 40 miles a week if you are running a marathon and you have a goal of 4 hours or below. You just need to grind out the distance. And if you don't, it's just not going to happen. And not only are you not going to achieve that goal, but it is really going to hurt. You're going to start destroying your stores of fat and cutting into your muscles, and it's going to hurt for days and days. It's almost as if somebody punched you in those calves and bruised you. So long run, speed workout, 40 miles a week, But start that right now. Maybe you need to go out and do a 10-miler this weekend. You may have to get up at 6 o'clock and do it. Or you may have to grind it out when it's a little bit warmer. But it's gonna make you tougher and stronger. It's gonna acclimatize you in case you do get a warm day for that marathon. So you gotta do it. Now finally, I'm gonna wrap it up with a little bit of tough love. Runners of the 2020s. Again, you cannot fool the marathon. I follow many people on Strava. I follow many people that I coach on Strava. And one of the things that bugs this old-fashioned old runner is on Strava, the real time and the elapsed time. I love seeing pictures of places all over the country, the fine places that people run, but not during your workout. When I say you need to run that 9:30 a mile, I mean you need to start the watch and end the watch and then take all the pictures. When I see the real time and the elapsed time and I see a 30-minute difference, ladies and gentlemen, that's just not gonna happen in the marathon. That clock starts and that clock finishes, so don't cheat yourself. In this sport, you get out of it what you put into it, and don't cheat yourself. Take all those pictures on days when you're doing, because you got to do your easy runs every week too. When you're doing your easy runs, you're doing a nice, fun run, going out, you see something nice in nature, and you want to get your phone, take a picture, go ahead. But I'm telling you, during those long runs, you got to lock in. You got to, plant a water bottle somewhere and literally, scoop it up and take 10 seconds and drink it. Not, stop your watch, but the real world time is going to elapse, and take 10 minutes to look at nature and drink your water, because you can't do that in a marathon. Not if you have a marathon goal. If your goal is to finish, which is fine, which is great, and you want to absorb and take everything, that's great. But what we're talking about today is, if you have a goal that you want to achieve, and many runners do, the time is now to start doing that. So, please forgive me if I've scolded anybody, because I haven't. I'm just, keeping it real and just telling you what you need to do if you want to achieve a certain time, particularly in the half marathon or the marathon. So again, stay very, very hydrated. What I do want you to do is, have a tumbler or have a water bottle in your hand almost all the time prior to your training run and after your training run here in the summertime. But I'll tell you, if you know that the time is now, and if you begin building this base right now, and then take some of the advice that I gave you today, you are going to be successful in that half marathon time and in your marathon time, or in your marathon time, or maybe both. One quick thing, I don't want to belabor this point too much and keep you on here too much longer. However, it is a good idea a month or so, if you're running a marathon, a month or so before, to run the half marathon. It's a great barometer of where you are in your training, and it can kind of give you a much clearer picture of what you may be running in the marathon. Joemuldowney here. Thanks for watching. We'll be with you in a week or so with another edition of Running Shorts.